I don't have the poetry of language like some other YouTubers or reviewers do. It's not really my space. So I'm just gonna drop this right at the top. I don't think Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League deserves the insane amount of hatred that it has been getting online, probably by people who will never or have never played the game. That being said, there are a lot of categories where it is certainly doing itself no favors while doing little to separate itself from the rest of the pack. So let's talk about it. There will be story spoilers, but given the title of the game, I think you can imply what's going to happen. Kill the Justice League is a third-person live service looter shooter, which is the first category where it's doing itself no favors in the public eye. If you're already feeling the urge to leave the video, I completely understand, and this is something that is going to be a huge turnoff to a massive amount of people already. Let's pretend for a second that I haven't been running a channel based on a looter shooter for the past 10 years. Suspend some belief for a moment. Saying your game is live service nowadays is much more of a turnoff than ever before, as there are dozens of live service games already fighting for a limited amount of attention, although the devs have said that they don't want the game to completely take over your life, which is fair. And if you are going to be a live service experience, you really need to do quite a lot in order to not only pull people away from the game they're already invested into, but also want to make them continue to come back. And my experience feels like it will mostly be a one and done. I do not know why Rocksteady made this into a looter shooter versus a one-off story-driven experience. Maybe they wanted to try something new that they've never done before. Maybe WB Games saw all the money some of these live service games were printing and told them to make their game into a live service game. I don't know. Do I think we need yet another looter shooter live service game in the world? Not really, at least not any that aren't looking to change the formula, try something different, or break the mold in some way, none of which this game does. It's a serviceable game. It is competent at a few things, but it doesn't really do enough to stand out in the crowd. There's no hook as a looter fan, and there's probably not that much of a hook for a DC comic or single-player story experience fan. I wouldn't recommend buying this game just for the campaign experience. Maybe wait for someone to upload a bunch of cutscenes or something to YouTube, as that's where the game shines the most. I don't know how much I can recommend it to a looter shooter fan either, because this doesn't do much in the way of new. Could you play the crap out of it now and just swing back when new DLC comes out, which to Rocksteady's credit will be free? Sure. I think that's basically how they want you to play the game, as they've said that they don't want it to take over your life. But if you never started, would I blame you? Not really. Let's talk story. The game does feature a campaign, although a brief one, clocking in at around 8 to 10 hours if you just zoom through the main missions as fast as possible, with a lot of redeeming qualities, like the voiceover work, facial animations, cutscenes, the characters and their design. Even a good chunk of the dialogue I think holds up. I'm not someone who laughs at things very often, which yes, I do hate about myself, but I can, at the very least, appreciate the fact that every other word coming out of an NPC's mouth wasn't causing fatal amounts of cringe. All of these aspects look really good, they sound good, and the experience in that aspect, I think, is mostly good. The issue is mainly with the gameplay, which, again, I would call serviceable, with some rare good moments and many more frustrating ones. The story of Kill the Justice League is where Brainiac has mind-controlled the Justice League, and you, as either Harley Quinn, King Shark, Deadshot, or Boomerang, are tasked with killing them and putting a stop to Brainiac's, for lack of a better term, shenaniganery. You'll meet up with familiar faces along the way as you work towards, well, killing the Justice League. So, I mentioned all of the good about the campaign experience. What's so bad about it? I personally did not have as much of an issue with the story part of the game as I'm willing to suspend some amounts of disbelief. I also haven't played the Arkham games, so I have zero investment outside of this game. I am also someone who is pretty easily entertained. I don't really think too deep about story elements while I'm in the middle of them, whether it comes to video games, movies, comics, whatever. And I don't even really feel like I'm super qualified to even discuss issues with the story itself, other than a couple of points I've seen addressed, with the main one being, We're killing superheroes with guns? I went through this with the game The Division when it came out. The Division has humanoid characters that on higher difficulties are able to eat hundreds of bullets. It is also a looter shooter with those looter shooter mechanics. So suspension of the reality of when you shoot a person in the head, they die, needed to happen to let the video game part of the video game do its thing. If they wanted to do something where maybe we weaken the bosses of the game with some guns and then the finale is where we use some sort of MacGuffin to truly kill them, would that have been better? Maybe. I don't know. Personally, I'm willing to suspend my belief. Oh, we need to kill the Flash? Oh, we get a little device that allows us to see him or track him better while we shoot him down? Okay, fine, sure. Green Lantern, here's these yellow power rings that are apparently from the comics or whatever, and they can counter Green Lantern's powers. Okay, fine. Special synthesized kryptonite for Superman? Okay, let's go. There's even a part in the story where Batman records himself saying, if I need to kill the Justice League, here's how I will do it. And you end up doing those things. Some people cannot get over the fact that we still kill superheroes with a minigun, and I'm not here to say whether you're right or wrong because I don't think there's a correct answer. It's not something that moves the needle for me, but it's okay if that moves the needle for you. Whether or not Rocksteady could have gone with a different direction within the boss encounters on how we kill them, though, is totally up for debate. Outside of that, I don't recall having too many issues with the story. But again, it's not my strong suit. Brainiac mind controlled the Justice League? Look, if we want to live in a world where that's a possibility in order to have this game happen, okay, sure. The only thing that I wish was explained a bit more during the story experience is to how that actually happened. Because I think that's only in a lore codex somewhere. The game starts with everyone already being mind controlled with no explanation of how it happened. The pace of the campaign was kept pretty high, not that much downtime, not a ton of, before this happens, we need you to do 17 other things and then the plot will progress. So I appreciated that within the context of, this is a looter shooter campaign experience where most of your time is going to be spent in the endgame. If we're talking in the context of, this is a single player story focused experience of a game, then I don't think it holds up nearly as much. My biggest problem was actually the fact that when you kill the individual members of the Justice League, they literally just fall over dead in the most unceremonious way I have ever seen. In other games, you bring a major character or a boss down to 1%, and then there's some kind of a cutscene that starts, and they reveal their plan, and they give you more exposition or something like that. In this, there's no last words. There's no sort of thing where like the mind control effect wears off as they're dying so they could try to do literally anything that they could before they die. As soon as you bring each superhero to 0% HP in the boss fight, they flop over and die. I literally mean flop over. The Green Lantern has a couple of sentences. Batman has a little bit of time. That's it. I thought I accidentally skipped some cutscenes or that the game bugged out and skipped them. Nope. Just flop over and die. And I wanted there to be some sort of story reveal or plot reveal or information reveal, and it just never happens, which makes the payoff of killing the Justice League close to nothing. Even the final boss dies like this. It's the final boss. There's no payout. Another thing that bugged me, that was more related to the story than gameplay, was that these characters don't stop talking. If I'm in a cutscene, I accept that characters are going to talk. I have no problem with that. But outside of cutscenes, you're patrolling around, you're doing this, you're doing that. I don't want someone talking in my ear all the time. The game felt like if it went more than 6 seconds without someone talking, that it would crash to desktop or something. After I beat the game, I turned dialogue off completely because I don't think a single thing of value will be spoken to me until a new piece of content pops up. Let's swing over to gameplay, which is where I think many more shortcomings of the game are revealed. I understand that when I play a looter or a grind game, that there's going to be a decent amount of repetitiveness in the experience. Suicide Squad says, I bet. and provides the same cookie-cutter missions you've seen in every game before it. Escort the vehicle, destroy the crystals blocking the thing, get the data to the truck, protect this plant, all of which are done by killing dudes. The combat experience is pretty much the same every time in these missions. There are enemies spread out across many different rooftops. You will jump around trying to kill them while using the various tools the game gives you to help, whether that's regaining your shields with a shield harvest attack, countering enemies' attack with a counter of your own, or just generally shooting the crap out of everything. The gun experiences all play pretty much the same. Using a minigun doesn't feel that much different to using an SMG, except like it has a huge magazine. Same with the assault rifle or the shotgun. The only time I feel a playstyle shift is demanded is when you're using a sniper. But I played as King Shark the whole time, and thus did not even have access to a sniper. I only used it when I chose to switch characters, and after playing with King Shark the whole time, turns out I didn't even like that because I'd rather just be stomping around with a minigun. Something I couldn't shake was that the entire campaign felt like one gigantic tutorial that I just wasn't escaping. And that's because it's true. The entire campaign feels like a tutorial to set you up for the endgame experience so that you know what everything does. I just never felt like I've experienced this feeling in a game before, where the entire campaign still feels like new tutorials are being flung at my face, and I don't really mean this in a good way. The boss fights were okay at best, with the majority, if not all of them, revolving around the same core concepts. Use your counterattack to build up a meter, then shoot the ever-loving crap out of them while jumping and running all over the place to avoid being hit. The first boss, the Flash, was hectic enough and different enough from the missions I had been doing that I was mostly okay with it. Green Lantern featured a bit more verticality, but felt like the same experience that I had been playing. There wasn't much that set it apart from a typical mission other than I was fighting Green Lantern this time and he was throwing a bunch of green stuff at me. I was most disappointed by Batman's encounter, as the lead up to it was pretty interesting and entertaining. The theming of this section of the campaign, the space of the arena, the actual look of Batman himself, basically everything other than the boss fight, were all pretty awesome. And then the boss fight starts, and it amounts to jumping over a wave attack that moves at 1 mile an hour, shooting a ball out of the sky, and then just holding the trigger on Batman's giant face for 5 minutes. Just a big letdown from what I felt like was a pretty cool build-up. Superman's fight felt reminiscent of the Flash's encounter, and if Batman hadn't let me down as much as it did, I think the final boss fight would have done the trick, because it is the same fight as the Flash. Dude literally turns into the Flash, which would have been okay had they actually done something a bit more unique with the fight. Like, oh, it's him and he has the powers of the Flash. How is he going to change things up? He won't. He's going to do the exact same thing, and you're going to kill him the exact same way. And when you do kill him, he's going to plop on the ground like this in the most unceremonious final boss death I think I've ever seen in a video game, pretty much like all the others in the game before him. So, cookie cutter mission design that we've seen a trillion times before, with some boss encounters that really didn't do a whole lot for me. But hey, we're only going to play that once, right? How about Endgame? Endgame here shouldn't be much of a surprise. Get gear to fight higher level enemies, to get higher level gear to fight higher level enemies. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is nothing new happening when it comes to the mission format. The campaign had about, I would say, 6 to 8 mission types during that experience. I hope you're ready for the exact same mission types, because that's what you're getting on some sort of 3-mission cycle rotation. No new mission types at all. The only thing that's different is that you're going to be fighting in a slightly different area than you were in the campaign, as it appears that the end game takes place in the Elseworlds as opposed to Metropolis. Same enemies, maybe a couple of infused enemies, aka enemies that get the powers of the Justice League. Same mission types, same fighting style, same everything for the most part. They do introduce some modifiers, like enemies heal themselves when they're shooting at you, or enemies explode when they die. But considering the cacophony of things happening on screen all at once in an endgame setting with an endgame build, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't even realize those things were active or happening. Endgame is set up like this. You have invasion levels, which are basically Diablo world tiers. You increase the invasion level to increase the difficulty of your world. Then you have mastery tiers within the missions. The higher you go, the better the rewards. All of this is accessed with a new currency that I really don't think needs to exist in the form of Promethium, which is earned from doing lower level missions in the endgame or from hunting down these red bug creatures in Metropolis, neither of which I'm interested in doing, just so I can go participate in the thing I actually want to do. Sure, it doesn't take that long to hunt down some of these bugs to farm some easy cash, but hear me out, maybe just let me do the damn mission and not waste my time with this currency. I've unlocked Mastery rank 15. You think I want to go hit up a level 0 mission to farm currency that won't even give me enough to enter the damn thing I want to do? No! There's also a horde mode called Killing Time, where you just go as long as you can. It's a horde mode with a hardcore variant for those looking to step it up even more. Where I am going to give some amount of credit is in the build crafting experience. Rocksteady really made sure that they included all the bells and whistles that one would expect of a game of this genre. Set bonuses on different pieces of gear, upgrading your gear, unique perks and effects attached to guns and other items, re-rolling your armor, loadouts. I was not expecting this experience to be as complete as it ended up being, although I suppose if it wasn't as complete as other games, they would be getting raked over the coals for it. What do you mean there's no loadouts? What do you mean I can't re-roll my gear? There is what feels like a good amount of room to build a lot of unique loadouts. Something that I thought was pretty neat is where you can wear certain types of villain-themed armor to potentially activate villain synergy, which give you even more bonuses depending on which villain-themed armor you combine, or items, whatever. But unfortunately, they're mostly going to be playing the same across the different characters because the only truly unique things to the characters are their movement abilities. There aren't any King Shark specific set bonuses or perks on weapons. There's nothing specific for Harley Quinn. All of the set bonuses and special perks are generic enough that they can be used by anyone, which is partly okay, but it makes it so switching between characters isn't really anything special because they all play about 90 to 95% the same. While the weapons are really dialed in on some of the crazy stats and bonuses they can provide, for a game like this, it felt like there was some charm missing. Like, where are all my weird guns? Like something that Borderlands provided. This is the perfect place to see a rocket launcher that shoots Green Lanternified sharks or something, and there's just like none of that here. And unfortunately, again, all of this doesn't mean a whole lot when the endgame loop is repeating the same mission types from the campaign. There were absolutely some fun times in perfecting my first build. I went with a grenade and crazed debuff focused setup where my grenades hit super hard, and I built myself so that grenades would drop a lot. Very effective. But was I in much of a hurry to cycle through the same missions in a loop just to unlock higher mastery ranks? No. I played what I believed to be a typical endgame session, which lasted about 3 hours. I increased my mastery from like 5 to 15 by looping the same 3 missions over and over again. And I said, okay, that's enough for me. I get it. You know, I get it. It wasn't compelling enough for me to continue to care about leveling up or build crafting more. But you also got to keep in mind that I've been around this genre for a decade now. And if you're not blowing me away completely, it is going to be tough to get me invested because I've seen it all in the past 10 years. Is this game as bad as the internet is making it seem or wants it to be? I don't think it is. No. But is the game doing itself many favors to counter that? I don't think so. No. There's plenty of stuff that I didn't talk about in this review, like the fact that your friends can join your team as bots. I didn't talk about Metropolis as a setting, the UI that can just litter your screen with information, even though I kind of got used to it, a few other things, but I didn't want this to, run an hour long. Nor do I think talking about these things would have really been selling points or changed any opinions. Suicide Squad is literally one of the games of all time. It's not offensively bad, but it doesn't show enough brilliance to see much momentum. It's stuck in the middle. It lacks interesting mission ideas. It has an endgame system we've seen a million times over, but shows some amount of promise in the build crafting aspects. It's a decent foundation to maybe build upon. However, given the already poor showing on Steam with an all-time peak of 13,500 people as of this video, I don't know how much longer the party is going to go. I don't think it does enough to pull people from their live service games they already play, and I don't think it does enough to extract the $70 required for an 8 to 10 hour campaign for those looking for a more story-driven experience. Big shout out to SkillUp for giving me some writing advice on this one. It's been a while since I've done a review of anything, so thanks, bud. Let me know if there's some more interest in some more game reviews. I wanted to start with something a little more familiar. Toss a like on the video if you liked it. Maybe sub to the channel. I don't know. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.